Hi, everybody. It is, what is it? It is November 10. 10 days already in November. Oh, everything seems to be going flying, actually, flying by. I hope you're all doing well. Hello, Alicia and Jerry and GeoFactor 3 and Tony Punch and Andrew, Julio, Angelos, Lorraine, Michael Mossberg, Jay Northrup, Killer Drums. Yeah. BMCC, Max, hi. I haven't seen Sandra since she donated to you through me. I hope she shows up tonight. Yeah, well, Shauna Howard and Broen and Patricia White and Oracle 11, Rage Against the Machine and Amber Eyes, a blackbird that is white. Hi, haven't seen you in a while. So we're just going to get on with it. Today was a big spray day where I am in Idaho, and I'm so sick of it. I'm just so unbelievably sick physically, not feeling well, but just sick of looking at that sky. I'll show it to you tomorrow. I haven't downloaded or uploaded from my camera. Here we have radar. This is still part of that storm that was down here in Texas and Oklahoma for a couple of days. And then, boy, it moved on Louisiana and then right on through. And then it was making that hurricane-like weather front. Yeah, and that the hurricane part disappeared, but this is still part of that storm. Maybe it doesn't look like they're getting much precipitation northeast, but I was thinking maybe it could have an effect on the fires, New Jersey, New York. Oh, so I don't know what is going on with this Hurricane Raphael, but from my weather forecast on Tibbetts, I saw that it literally disappeared. Now people are saying it's back. Okay, well, we'll get to that. So there are no tornado alerts. That's good, but there are 4 active severe weather alerts, and they're in Michigan, in Huron, and in Lapeer, in Sanilac, and Tuscola, Oakland. Be very careful. We all know what severe weather brings. Brings everything possible. So once again, I will post the link. Severe weather alert page and radar. Okay. Yeah. Well, what do we have? They're on it. They're talking about, once again, tropical storm / hurricane Raphael. So I guess it came back, but look at the spaghetti models. What are these models? You got circles here. This is Raphael, which is very confusing, but where the hell is it going? I mean, one model says it's going all the way down into southern Mexico, another right on up into Texas, Louisiana. Well, pay attention to this. And I'm just going to play a few minutes. I will post Weatherman Plus's link. So, yeah. Very hard to tell what we're going to be getting with our weather these days. But don't you remember a time, this was decades ago, when you could pretty much count on the meteorologist and you made plans in accordance to the weather? Now, not so much.
It's not normal. What is showing could form up. Hey, happy Sunday, everybody. Mark again here, Weatherman Plus. I'm giving the latest update on what's going on around the corner. I'm still showing it is a very strange pattern. Matter of fact, it is just not normal. What is showing could form up in the near future, maybe even a strong hurricane as we're going through the middle of November. Normally, we'll be talking about maybe a tropical storm as it goes out into this direction. But what we're seeing in the latest information is that all this is going to build up. All this tropical moisture is going to build up over here by the Yucatan, by the Central American Gyre, and it's going to start going to the west because we're going to get an upper level high that's going to come across, and this is going to steer everything to the west. But this upper level high is going to leave as soon as we go into the early 20s, and we got another chance for something to form. We got multiple chances for a system to form while we go through November. Plus, I'm still showing we have another chance or more while we go through December. And while we're going through that pattern, we have two cold blasts that's coming through for November. One that's coming all the way down towards the south central, towards the 15th. One that's coming all the way down towards the southeast and the south central towards the 20th. So we have two.
Okay, so yeah, the link again. What does he say? Strange. Well, actually, just not normal. Start looking into weather modification, please. I can't. These people who are the YouTube meteorologists must get comments from people. Weather modification, geoengineering types of comments. But they never seem to go there. Look at this. Oof. Colorado. Jefferson, Colorado. Okie dokie. That's quite the sky, isn't it? Perfectly normal, though. Look at this. Okay. Yeah. Just a bubble of cloud. And it's gray up against that magnificent orangey pink. Look at this. The microwaves down here, the ripples. Hey, blues man. Well, yeah, no geoengineering there. Perfectly normal, natural. I guess it's climate change that makes the clouds look almost like a globe, right? Ooh, now, it's a little hard to hear this, but it's happening. This is another video, this from Green Mountain, North Carolina. Possibly having their children taken away by CPS. Too many people are talking about it now. And here we go.
Awful what they're doing.
What are they doing with
They're
the
taking the kids if they don't have places to go. Like if they don't have a camper or like something to go in,
Right.
they can't. They're close.
CPS is coming to take
They're
them.
taking. Yes, that's what they're doing.
Even if they're living with neighbors and their parents, they're coming to take them.
I know if they're in that shelter and they don't have a safe place to go when they leave that shelter, they will take them. And we have DSS lady on our team, and she confirmed it. We went to the place today, the shelter. They confirmed it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's real.
They're taking the kids from the parents.
Yes, if they don't have a safe place to take them. And they're
Oh.
closing the shelters by Friday.
Oh
Well,
no.
I think there's a couple of places that are not.
The ones that, the ones we talked to.
There's
Oh,
a couple
no.
places that are not because, but one of the reasons why, but there's a church. Hold on, wait a minute.
Well,
My
the one
phone is
where we,
inside.
the
I'll go
ones
get
that we
it.
know.
God,
Yeah, we need another meeting because the one we had this morning and the place we went to today, that's what they're doing.
no one's gonna
This one place,
come
and I
up there
think
and
it's in
mess with us.
Burnsville, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You got a porta
oh,
potty.
the school.
Yeah,
The Red Cross is
What?
running that.
that they are doing
No.
that.
Yes,
Yes,
they
they
are.
are.
Really?
Yes, we went there.
I don't know if that's the right
We
one.
were there.
Now, is that the place that's got all of those cots, 3 meals a day, laundry service,
Yeah.
hot
That's
shower?
the one.
Is that the
They have
one
to be
Mills?
out by noon Friday. Noon Friday.
Is that-
See, and
that's what Mills
everything
is
that has
talking
been
about?
going
The
around
Blue Ridge
on
Shelter.
every, I gotta look.
No, that's why we're so like.
Wow. Yes. Yeah. In it, because you know the seriousness
Yes,
of
and
it.
then like the lady, she's Child Protective Services, and she's on our team, and like she does search and rescue and all that. And she said it was real. Like I didn't believe it. I need you to tell me 5 times this is real. And she's like, it's real. And then we went to the shelter, and she said it's real.
Mm.
Like I couldn't wrap my head
Oh,
around
my
that
God.
being real.
Yeah. And
Like I still can't wrap my head around it being real.
that's just the beginning. What they do with
I
what they
know.
do with these children is
And they're taking
is-
them to Asheville.
Oh no.
My grandmother.
Oh no.
No, that's why we were just like.
Two stroll home. Fought down
I mean, my kids, but I'm crying for them.
Oh.
So, what was that?
What are they?
Hey, sweetheart. Oh, wow. Okay. There you go. There you go. Well, anybody who listens to this, how could they possibly think that they're living in a country where their government cares about them? How could they possibly think that we're living in a country that is not evil when you have these FEMA camps? And apparently, the first one that we have seen is to house 700 FEMA employees. So if they can create all of that for 700 employees, gee, I wonder what they could create for all of the people who don't have housing because of this massive undertaking by the weather terrorists. And you know what? I'm going to say this. We have the holidays coming up. Think about what you can do for all of the people who are really hurting. You know, maybe sit down, have a meeting with your family, talk about, let's not buy one another presents that we don't really need. How about we put that money towards helping people in need? Yeah. So, breaking, FEMA confirms it has begun an acquisition project of the land in Western North Carolina. This is the buyout program. So on the FEMA website, it says, this project moves people out of the 100-year floodplain or floodway, demolishes the property, and leaves it natural into perpetuity, preventing future flood damage. This is the buyout program. This is what FEMA does. We already heard from the governor of North Carolina, who said, you know, that the best course of action is to just not build in these towns that when you add up the population of all of those towns, There were a lot of people there, and they don't want to leave the Appalachian Mountains. They love it. So this is going on. But talk about land grabs. Here we go, California.
New at 6, as President Biden wraps up his term in office, some California lawmakers are pushing him to turn local forest land into national park land. But those who live and work in the area strongly oppose the bill. CBS 47's Brianna Bias is in Oakhurst after speaking with residents about the issue.
Cattle ranchers, loggers, homeowners, they all rely on this land for their livelihoods. But a bill to turn it into a national monument could make it untouchable. Between Yosemite and Kings Canyon National Parks sits 1.4 million acres of federal forest land. But some California lawmakers think it belongs in the national park system.
I just noticed that it was in decline, and that was over 10 years ago. And of course, now so much has changed that it really seems like the best option.
The Range of Lights National Monument Act was first introduced in 2022 to make all of that land into a national monument like the Grand Canyon. The bill died until last month, when 52 California lawmakers gathered together to ask President Biden to enact it before he leaves office.
If a monument was created over it, literally the federal government would come in and say, we believe your property is worth $100,000, and they would take that from residents and give them $100,000. So it would be moving land that's in private hands right now into the federal government's hands.
Fresno County Supervisor Nathan Magzig wrote his own letter to the president last week, pleading with him to leave the land alone.
We need less government, not more, and keep your hands off of our private property here in Fresno, Madera, and Mariposa counties.
He says the government hasn't done a good enough job taking care of the national park land that they already have. He doesn't think they need more.
As far as I'm concerned, the government already owns too much property, so giving them control of more is not a good idea.
They're taking too much of everything away, and I don't like that. So yeah, no, I have a problem with it.
And so do more than 8,000 other people who live in the area and have signed a petition to stop the bill. Many say they use the land for their ranching or logging businesses, but the bill's supporters say only 10% of the land is even usable. So Deanna Wolf with Unite the Parks says they could just work for the National Park Service instead.
For people who have the ranching skills, there's so much to do in terms of support work for the backcountry restoration. We did have a study done that looked at this, and it shows that there would be a phenomenal increase in jobs.
Whether they want those jobs is the question, and the resounding answer from those who signed the petition is no. She says it would take a miracle for Biden to enact it before the end of his term, so her best chance is for Congress to pick it up. But Magzig challenges anyone who tries.
Wow. So that woman actually just said that, we're going to take your land, your private property, and then you can work for the National Park Service. Without any hesitation, hey, that's a great deal. And again, who thinks we live in a free country? If they want it, they will take it. Meanwhile, in New Mexico, there was quite a lot of snow. And that's not good. What happens to these cows? Sure hope the rancher is getting them out of there somehow. 35 inches of snow in New Mexico. All right. The wildfires in New Jersey, in New York, Anybody from New Jersey, anybody in here from New York, this is very unusual, to say the least. But at one point in this broadcast, they show how many fires are taking place. Okay, there's a lot.
Wildfires burning on both sides of the Hudson River, and tonight.
Look at this white trail. Doesn't look like a wildfire to me. It looks very suspicious.
We have learned a first responder has died fighting the flames. We have team coverage of the fires and the drought that's fueling it all. Good evening. I'm Natalie Duddridge. Jessica Moore is off tonight. It's been an active day right across the tri-state with crews trying to get a handle on multiple wildfires from Passaic County in New Jersey to Dutchess and Orange counties in the Hudson Valley. The tinder dry conditions and strong winds are making conditions challenging for crews. And we have team coverage tonight. Alicia Reed is in New Jersey, where a person responding to a brush fire has died. And Derek Waller is in Brooklyn with a look at how the fires are affecting our air quality. But let's begin with meteorologist Vanessa Murdoch, who has the latest on our yellow alert and that poor air quality. Vanessa.
Yeah, it's a sad situation out there. That is why we've issued a yellow alert. It's in play until midnight Monday morning. Poor air quality will continue as wildfire smoke fills the air for so many of us. The air quality index is anticipated to be between 90 and 200 plus. 200 plus is where we landed earlier this evening in the city as smoke filled the air. I'm happy to report the conditions have improved somewhat. We're at an air quality index of 124 on a scale of 0 to 500, but it is still unhealthy for sensitive groups. And keep in mind, this is just the city. Elsewhere, conditions are worse as a result of the numerous fires burning around.
Yeah, I'd say there are numerous fires. What is going on here? You've got 2 on Long Island, but I'm talking to people who might not know these areas. I lived on Long Island. I was, born and raised in New York. So, hey, come on, New York. There's an awful lot. I've never seen this. I have never experienced this. Not for New York and the new Northeast.
Around the region. This gives you a sense of just how widespread fire activity is today. But the most impactful for our air quality has been the Jennings Creek wildfire. The smoke continues to spread generally to the south from this fire. The northerly winds pushing the smoke in that direction. At this moment in time, we see the heaviest smoke as a result of the Jennings Creek wildfire impacting Monmouth and Ocean counties. As we roll into your Sunday, that impact will shift as the winds shift. Your future forecast here for the smoke brings it more northerly into Orange County tomorrow, and then eventually moving to the northeast, spreading from not just Orange, but into Putnam, northern Westchester, Dutchess counties as well.
Died Saturday after a tree fell and landed on him. Eastern Dutchess County Fire and Rescue says he was airlifted to the hospital but did not survive.
It's scary. If the wind starts going this direction south, it's going to come over the ridge, and then the problem is over to the right here is all the residential housing.
The wildfires in the area of Greenwood Lake Turnpike and East Shore Road in West Milford and also Orange County, New York. This family rushed over to help their son move trailers and equipment to make sure nothing got damaged by the fire.
We're just trying to make sure that this is safe. And then once we clear that out, we have a lake house at the south part of the lake here. We're going to go down there and make sure that part is safe as well.
Hiking trails in Long Pond Ironworks State Park and Tranquility Ridge are closed until further notice. Fire officials say a significant amount of rain is needed to give firefighters some reprieve.
A significant amount of rain, and guess what? They're not getting it. In fact, it looks like they're evaporating the moisture in those areas. Okay. Well, this is very sad. All right. Hurricane Helene destroyed my home. Please help us.
Hi, I'm Barbara Brad.
Barbara Bradley.
I'm 74 years old. This is where my husband, Willard Bradley, and I used to live. We lived here from 72 with him, and he died in January 2019. And this is what's left after the flood. I did find a Bible that he had given me, and inside it was my mom's obituary, which I'm glad I found. This is all I have left, and FEMA don't seem to worry about it. I do have a GoFundMe set up, but it's not doing that great. And all I want to do is come home. I need a place to put back here.
Your neighbor donated to her. She just wants to come back home.
It's not doing that great. And all I want to do is come home.
She has no home. She has apparently been living with son-in-law. This is I will post the GoFundMe. And she apparently takes care of her grand and great grandchildren. Oh, good. Maybe since she posted that video, she's been getting more donations. But Brian Estes created the GoFundMe for her. Green River Cove hasn't gotten the news coverage of the more populated or commercialized areas. Hit hard, wiping out the only road that gives access. The road has been patched up thanks to several local volunteers with their own time and equipment. Okay, so Barbara is this person's mother-in-law. She lived in the same trailer that was bought in 1973. Well, the water and the mud line and everything left her with nothing. She has no insurance, retired, living on single Social Security income. Her car was completely submerged, total loss. Wow. People really are hurting. So, yeah, every penny helps. And did I put the link in? I'm going to now. So many Barbaras, so many Maxes, so many. FEMA official removed after Avoid Trump Houses message. She should not be removed, fired. She should be sued along with FEMA. So FEMA removed her from her role and is under investigation. She ordered workers to bypass the homes of Trump supporters. Who could possibly think of saying something like that, even if they wanted to do this? It seems that people feel like they've got carte blanche to just say things out loud that you would have never heard, in time gone by. And how could anybody say something like that and feel like, they're secure in that it's not going to get out? All of the people that I'm saying this to, I feel very confident they won't squeal on me. Are you kidding me? Implement best practices. Avoid homes advertising Trump. It was the written word. It amazes me how truly, destructively stupid people are today. Anyway, Spain. This is what the Spaniards do when they're not getting from their government the services that they need. From the flooding in Valencia, riot cops clash with raging protesters. This is over the anger with the number of flood deaths and their poor government response to the flood. Wow. This was big, and they want the regional leader and leaders gone. Let's listen to a DW broadcast on this.
Spain now, where tens of thousands of people have rallied in the city of Valencia to protest the official response to the floods that killed more than 220 people. They want the regional government leader to resign. Dozens are still missing over a week after torrents swept vehicles and people away.
Anger and despair unites people here in Valencia as they demand the resignation of regional leader Carlos Mazón. More than 220 people died in Spain's worst flood in recent decades.
Wow.
We're protesting because of all the mismanagement and because they didn't warn us in time. Luckily, we're still alive, but many others are dead, and they could have been saved.
They must understand they failed and we deserve better. But unfortunately, we have completely incompetent leaders. We need a fresh start. Too many are dead. Too many have been abandoned. And more than 10 days after the floods, they are still abandoned.
There were even calls for officials to face criminal charges. Some of the protesters unleashed their anger on police officers, who responded using their batons. Rallies were also held in other cities across the region and the country, and more are being planned. Many residents in the affected areas are too busy to join the protests in Valencia's city centre. Sara Prieto's parents have lost everything in the floods. Luckily, they were able to escape at the last minute. But they have friends who are still searching for missing family members and who feel abandoned by the authorities.
There's no coordination. I have the impression that there's no one at the government level managing any of this. It's complete chaos.
Mountains of garbage keep piling up on the streets around Valencia, and authorities are warning of the spread of infectious diseases.
The red letter R means that this car has already been searched for dead bodies. But almost 2 weeks after the devastating floods, the situation in the area remains chaotic, and the cleanup work is progressing very slowly. And with each day, the anger of the people at the government's crisis management keeps growing.
While people feel left alone by the authorities, there is massive solidarity amongst those affected. Every day, these volunteers serve around 500 free meals.
If we didn't help ourselves, they would let us die. Not far from here, where mostly elderly people live, it's even worse. There are still villages where no help has arrived at all.
With anger surging and growing demands for accountability, the disaster could yet result in political careers being swept away.
Remind you of anything? Oh, Western North Carolina, for sure, right? But I have to say, the Europeans, they don't wait. They get out there. Now, we've taken it for so long that it's now too long. And anything that we do, to try to get any kind of change in our government, we're labeled domestic terrorists. Earthquake in Cuba, it was, about the statewide, meaning the entire country of Cuba, having blackouts for a very, very long time. Then they have Hurricane Raphael hit. Now, earthquakes? Something going on?
Powerful 6.8 magnitude earthquake strikes eastern Cuba on November 10th, 2024. On November 10th, 2024, a powerful 6.8 magnitude earthquake struck eastern Cuba, shaking communities across the region. The earthquake's epicenter was reported to be off Cuba's southern coast, near the Granma province. residents as far as Santiago de Cuba and Holguin felt the tremors, with significant impact noted across towns and cities already struggling with recovery efforts from recent hurricanes and ongoing power outages.
I'll put the link in if you want to watch the remaining 1 minute. But yeah, all right. Cuba's getting hit pretty hard. Link is in the chat. Now, thousands of witnesses across the Southwest reporting an unknown object breaking apart in the sky, creating a spectacular display. Oklahoma, Texas. I guess there's not a lot of people who understand that our military has technology that they can. This was not a meteor, not at all. Didn't have the characteristics of a meteor, which is very fast. Okay. They don't fly, like the speed of an airplane. But yeah, I mean, the kind of technology that militaries all over the world have today.
I got it.
What the fuck is that? Dude, what the fuck is that?
What is that?
What the fuck is that?
Yo!
Wow! What the heck? What is it?
You talking about that? What is that? Right here, dude.
That I don't know.
How cool is that?
Life is going to get very, very, very weirder. It's weird now, but it's going to get very weird. So, yeah, gee, well, looky here. Crisis actors needed. West Palm Beach. We are a government contractor with 15 years of experience working with county, state, and federal agencies to ensure the safety of civilians by conducting simulated crisis events. Crisis scenarios may include, but are not limited to, situations involving natural disasters, tornadoes and floods and hurricanes and terror scenarios, militias, extremists, biological, chemical warfare attacks. Crisis actors needed. Yeah. Anything could happen. Now, I do want to, wait. Lithium-ion battery fires are so common today that I really do think that all of you need to think about the devices that you have in your homes, the lithium batteries, and if any can go outside, get them outside.
So at approximately 1:27 a.m., we received a ringing alarm call for a possible fire in the industrial complex here. The first arriving unit found water coming from under the roll of doors, requested a full structure response. While that response was coming, they made access into the building, discovered a working fire. We requested a second alarm to get more resources here. As they were coming in and they're making access, we found that there were small handheld lithium-ion batteries for handheld tools. We requested a third alarm. We have moved to a defensive attack, which means we've moved all personnel off the roof. actively fighting the fire with our aerial apparatus and protecting the exposures, the surrounding buildings in the process. And when the fire activity started to increase, we requested a fourth alarm. So we have approximately 35 apparatus with approximately 125 personnel either at scene or en route to the incident still.
And these fires are very difficult to put out. And yeah, I came across this on Twitter and I was like, wow. Anybody here? Do I have anybody from Canada here? The Canadian dollar. If you look at the Queen's hair, you will see a bafflement. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Wow. Right here. Okay. Is it red? Who's, is it Silent Walk in Canada? Yeah, it seems pretty clear. It's probably not red on the dollar, probably highlighted, but seems kind of odd. So many odd things happening. Yeah, I know. Well, I'm going to put this to rest because I'm not playing the game of having to continually, write mainstream media on their lies. So here we have Sky News deletes truth about Israeli football hooligans on the rampage in Amsterdam. They literally did delete, because you can't have the truth published by mainstream media.
This is absolutely wild. Having worked in the British media now for 13 years, I have no illusions in it. But this episode has still shocked me. Now, before I explain what's happened with Sky News, and this really should be seen as a scandal, a quick recap. In Amsterdam this week, racist, genocidal Israeli football hooligans, supporters of Maccabi Tel Aviv, went on the rampage. They attacked a Moroccan cab driver. They interrupted a minute's silence for Spanish flood victims with fireworks and jeers. They sang songs such as Kill All Arabs, which is genocidal incitement and also specifically racist incitement in a city with an Arab population. They sang songs literally celebrating the slaughter of Palestinian children. They tore down Palestinian flags from people's homes. They threw things at people's homes. They were filmed with iron bars masked up. And crucially, they violently attacked people in the streets. Now, in a striking example of how the world has been turned on its head, footage was taken by a Dutch photographer which showed Maccabi hooligans attacking a Dutch resident. Western media organizations then used this footage to suggest it was Maccabi fans being attacked. This was the context for attacks on Maccabi fans, none of which I condone. I have to say, being continually accused with no evidence of any description of supporting violence by people who don't just support violence, but support genocidal violence, support violence which slaughters countless children every day in Gaza, as you literally listen to me speak, well, as I'll keep saying, they really have turned the world on its head. The point is, this context was deliberately and deceitfully stripped away by Western media outlets and politicians who claimed this was a pogrom against Jewish people on the streets of Amsterdam. Now, Sky News, having been pushing comparisons with Kristallnacht on air, they actually did their job. They posted a video which accurately gave context. And do you know what they then did? They deleted it. Let's explore this further, but first, let me show you their original clip.
Violence in Amsterdam left at least 5 people injured and dozens have been arrested. But what happened? Supporters of Israeli football club Maccabi Tel Aviv arrived in Amsterdam ahead of their UEFA Europa League match against Amsterdam club Ajax. On Wednesday, social media videos verified by Sky News show Maccabi Tel Aviv fans tearing down Palestinian flags from outside of homes. Other social media videos appeared to show residents chasing Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. On Thursday, just before the game, crowds of Maccabi fans were filmed singing racist and anti-Arab songs. While a pro-Palestinian demonstration had been banned by the mayor over fears there would be clashes. Later that evening during the match, Israeli supporters appeared to disrupt the minute silence for Valencia flood victims with chants, whistles and fireworks. Maccabi fans were seen attacking locals as a police car can be seen driving by. People with Palestinian flags were seen marching on the streets. Maccabi supporters say they were beaten and attacked on the streets of the Dutch capital, with videos showing some of the violence.
Say free Palestine and we go. Good.
Sky News could not independently verify all of the footage shown. Police arrested 62 people. 5 were taken to hospital, but have since been discharged. Israeli far-right ultras are notorious for their racism and physical violence. Dutch, Israeli and British leaders denounced the attacks as anti-Semitic and even referred to it as a pogrom. But their statements failed to mention the assaults by the Israeli hooligans against Dutch citizens.
As I say, they then deleted this, originally offering no explanation whatsoever. They then posted another video they called a re-edit, which wasn't a re-edit at all. We'll come on to that, accompanied with a tweet reading, "Editor's note, this is a re-edit of a previous video which didn't meet Sky News' standards for balance and impartiality." Not a re-edit. It was a completely different video. Then they deleted that and then uploaded a third version. Now, the brilliant academic and near namesake of mine, Mark Owen-Jones, an expert in disinformation, has done a detailed analysis of what Sky News did. Let me go through his thread. He says, "This is nuts. After mysteriously deleting a package covering the Amsterdam protests, Sky News have put up a new version. The new version completely changes the thrust to emphasize that the violence was anti-Semitic. See the opening screenshot change below. The image of the video changes from Israeli football fans attacked in Amsterdam, what we know, to what we know about anti-Semitic violence in Amsterdam." He then notes how the language was changed. In the first tweet accompanying the video, it says, "Maccabi Tel Aviv fans tore down Palestinian flags and chanted racist Arab slogans. The Israeli team supporters were attacked and fights took place in the streets." That's accurate. That was then changed completely to "Violence in Amsterdam, what we know so far. Police in Amsterdam arrested 62 people following violence in the city on Thursday night. The city's mayor, police force, UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy and others condemned anti-Semitic violence." It then inserts into the video footage of the Dutch Prime Minister condemning anti-Semitism. Mark Owen-Jones notes they added an impact narrative and vox pops, but only from a Maccabi fan, not a resident of Amsterdam. No one who was on the receiving end of violence from Maccabi hooligans. And this man says the attacks reminded him of the 7th of October. Mark Owen-Jones then notes the original report ends with the reporting saying that while politicians called it a pogrom, their statements failed to mention the assaults by Israeli hooligans against Dutch citizens. He notes this was deleted. Why? That's what happened. It's accurate. It's literally describing accurately what happened. Now, similarly, Sky News also edited their online article. As David Clark, former special advisor to the late Labour Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, notes, the chanting of Maccabi fans is no longer referred to as racist. Now, just to be clear what we're talking about, this chanting. We're talking about chants of "kill all Arabs." They're literally mobs of hooligans who were behaving violently, rampaging around a European city, calling for the mass extermination of an entire ethnic group as their state slaughters Arab civilians, not least in Gaza, the West Bank, and Lebanon every single day. And they sang songs about the children of Gaza all being killed. Now, as David Clark says, Sky News changed that to more neutral terms as anti-Arab. This is wild. It's not just racism, it's genocidal racism. What is more racist than calling for the extermination of an entire people based on their ethnic group? There's literally nothing more racist than that. That is the most extreme end of racism. But they strip the term racism altogether. Insane. David Clark then adds, second, footage that in the film was described as showing Maccabi fans attacking locals is not referred to in the story at all. Instead, there is a still photograph, but no description of what it depicts. This is lying by omission, stripping away basic facts, which distort your understanding of what happened, is still a lie. He then goes on, third, the timeline of events, which is described clearly in the film, is now blurred, so the first examples of violence against Maccabi fans could be taken by the reader to predate the incident in which a Palestinian flag was torn down. So they've turned the timeline upside down to again make it look like the Maccabi fans, hooligans, were the victims. As David Clark concludes, news organizations sometimes get things wrong and should be willing to change content accordingly, but they should do so transparently. This looks like a news organization manipulating the truth as a result of private pressure. Sky News need to explain themselves, he says. Well, they haven't explained themselves. They just added to the bottom of the article, editors note the video in this piece is a re-edit of a previous version which didn't meet Sky News' standards for balance and partiality. Why? What did it violate? Which standards? They need to set that out. What standards for balance and partiality did they violate? Literally, it just described what happened in order. So what didn't it meet? Now, look, we have heard for a long time mainstream media outlets passionately denouncing disinformation on social media. But what we see here is mainstream media outlets spreading disinformation. Then we have to rely on social media to find out what has really happened. For example, on social media, a Dutch photographer who captured on film Maccabi fans attacking Dutch residents is now demanding apologies from multiple media organizations, from the BBC to CNN, for falsely portraying her footage as though it was Maccabi fans being attacked. She literally filmed Maccabi football hooligans attacking local residents. And media organizations took that and went, we'll put this up along with claims this is a pogrom. And then people look at it and go, well, look, that does look hideous. Look at this. There's a pogrom on the streets of Amsterdam, when they did not know they were looking at Maccabi fans attacking Dutch residents. Now, this photographer so far, she says, received an apology from just one German media outlet, Tagesschau. She said, to all the media organizations, said, I would like to do the same. An apology, a removal of my footage and the truth. A few minutes of your precious time. Write down, Maccabi supporters attacked Amsterdam residents in front of Central Station after the game. It comes to something when this teenage Dutch journalist at Oom Bender does more accurate journalism than almost the entire Western media. Let's see this clip where he's warned by these hooligans to stop filming, where you can see them carrying steel pipes and throwing stones at people's homes.
Zo, ik moest ook net stoppen met filmen. Ze zeiden, voor je eigen veiligheid zet nu je mic uit. Maar ze zijn niet blij.
They asked this teenager to stop filming. Stop filming. They said, for your own safety, turn off your mic now. And he didn't.
Ze zeiden, voor je eigen veiligheid zet nu je mic uit. Maar ze zijn niet blij.
Media. We're media.
Dat ga ik niet doen. Maar ik vond dit best wel spannend. Zo heb ik ze ook nog niet vaak gehad. Ja, en dat ook. Er is geen politie om niemand te beschermen. Gewoon niemand. 1 busje. Waar zijn die paarden? Er stonden net tientallen paarden op de arena, dus niks. 1 bus. Dit loopt uit de hand. Het is een soort, ze doen weer hittraining. Ze doen 30 seconden keihard rennen en dan gewoon weer voor 3 minuten rust. Er is nu meer politie. We lopen er nu recht achter. Oké, ze sluiten hun in. Ze worden een soort van ingesloten, zodat we niet de dam op kunnen.
You can see more of his footage where he says the atmosphere looks life-threatening as Israeli hooligans, some masking up, hold steel poles.
Gaan. Ik vind het ziet er levensgevaarlijk uit. Ze staan met ijzeren pijpen, stokken. Alle harde dingen die op knuppels lijken hebben ze op straat gevonden. lopen ze gewoon mee te patrouilleren. En alles wat ze niet bevalt gaat eraan. Dit wordt nog wat. Er is een soort teamoverleg. Leader of the bunch is er. Ze hebben gewoon kinderen, ik denk nog geen 12 jaar oud, lopen met stokken door de kleine straatjes voorop. En die zijn ruzie aan het zoeken. Dus je vindt een arrestatie plaats. Kijk, ze hebben dus de kinderen van, ik denk echt jonge kinderen, nog geen 12 jaar oud, dus een jochie van 1,50. En die heeft net gewoon een politieagent in de koffer gewoon aangevallen met een stok. Maar ja, je kan ook moeilijk een kind van 12 het busje ingooien, maar dat lijkt op wat er nu wel gaat gebeuren. Oké, de ME komt er nu uit met schild en stok. Ik denk dat het nu aanvallen wordt, alleen wat ze niet beseffen is, Tel Aviv heeft ook schild en stok.
Meanwhile, when the supposedly traumatized Israeli football hooligans returned to Tel Aviv, they celebrated by singing IDF will fuck the Arabs. Why school out in Gaza? There are no children there. As Israeli leftists on social media pointed out, they're referring in the first part to the rape of Palestinians. They're now repeat multiple examples we know corroborated of Palestinian detainees raped, gang raped. In one case, because they feared the Israeli authorities, the International Criminal Court issuing further requests for arrest warrants, or the chief prosecutor, for rape and torture, they tried to arrest some of the soldiers who'd gang raped a detainee. And then there were riots on the streets of Tel Aviv in support of rape, which government ministers took part in. And the second part of what they say there is celebrating the mass slaughter of Palestinian children in the week when a UN report on Gaza found that close to 70% of the verified deaths in Gaza are women and children. They said the age most represented among the dead were 5 to 9-year-olds. It does not get more depraved or grotesque than that. But there were no statements of outrage and horror from Western politicians and media outlets. Instead, they were reserved for football hooligans. What do you even say? Imagine Palestinian or Arab football fans had just done one of the things here. Imagine they had, say, marched through the streets of Amsterdam chanting, "Kill the Jews," or, for example, singing a song celebrating the slaughter of Israeli children. You know what would happen. They would all have been violently arrested within moments. I can imagine, frankly, the Dutch army being sent on the streets, and they would be passionately denounced by media outlets and Western politicians around the world and denounced as genocidal extremists. We'd be told about this shows this dangerous, radicalized minority who hate our values. Imagine, for example, during Srebrenica in 1995, classified as a genocide, Serb football hooligans had behaved like this. Imagine the media portrayal. What we're witnessing here is the attempt to manufacture consent in real time. What Sky News have done is inadvertently expose the process to which we are lied to by media outlets. They offered an example of what accurate reporting would actually look like. Then they got rid of it. And then they offered us a contrast, which showed how reality is instead turned on its head. The fact that Israel is committing a genocide and its football fans, unlike Russian fans after the invasion of Ukraine, are allowed to take part in tournaments and literally rampage around European streets, violently celebrating that genocide is insane. It's completely and utterly insane. And the fact that media organizations are now lying about what happened in order to show more sympathy and outrage in support of Israeli football hooligans than they have over the worst war crimes of our age. There are no words to describe this willful bending of reality. Orwellian doesn't even cover it.
Quite right. Quite right. But when you see that kind of behavior, you know, when you go to another country, you represent, you know, the country that you are from. So as an American, to go to Spain or to Italy or, you know, to the UK, you represent the United States of America. How you behave is very important. You want to be a power of example. You want to be, behaving in a dignified manner. So put all of the violent attacks that took place after this match and put that aside and just think they had a moment of silence in this stadium, a moment of silence for all of these people who died in the floods in Valencia. And it was the Israelis who wouldn't even just remain silent. You represent Israel. Oh boy, do you give it a bad name. Why can't people see this? Seems very clear to me. I did get a comment from my Israeli subscriber who said, thank you for these clips because this is not the news that we are getting in Israel. Of course not. Because you got to keep them deeply cemented in the indoctrinated brain set, the propaganda, the lies, just like we do here. Wow. So, we also have UN expert, I believe it's, Francesca Albanese.
Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the occupied Palestinian territory, has called for an investigation into Western media coverage of clashes in Amsterdam between Israeli football fans and locals. The confrontations involving Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters were downplayed or ignored by some outlets. Albanese criticized the media for obscuring Israel's actions, calling it part of a broader pattern of shielding Israeli officials, soldiers, and settlers from accountability. In a post on X, Albanese suggested that international tribunals have previously held media figures responsible for complicity in international crimes, highlighting the double standards in media reporting. She argued that in Western narratives, Israel is rarely portrayed as wrong, while Palestinians are often blamed and criminalized for violence. She further emphasized that failing to report the truth risks undermining the meaning of anti-Semitism, distorting facts, and excusing Israeli actions. Albanese urged the media to follow the police's clarification and ensure accountability. On the
Will it happen? Perhaps. Will it matter? Probably not. Probably not. And I do think that most people in the world understand Western media are just lying shitheads, for lack of a better term. We all know that. But when it becomes very clear, you're like, all right, so we're really going to do this again? We're going to claim it's anti-Semitism? Really? Again and again and again and again. And I guess, for sure the Israelis have to wake up, but the world needs to wake up. The whole anti-Semitism, you're anti-Semitic. Even the use of, the pogroms and that mainstream media reporter saying that it was like a crystal knock. Come on. When you do this over and over and over again, it matters nothing. All of those terms become meaningless. And plus the fact that when you have real anti-Semitism, people will question it. And when you have real anti-Semitism, unfortunately, people won't even give a shit. Yeah, it just is disturbing, to say the least. Now, I have time. And I can't put very many windows and tabs up on my computer anymore because my fan in my computer goes nuts. But I've bookmarked a lot, and I don't think it matters if it's organized, because I'm just going to show you, yes, the migrants are still coming across the border, and wow, the crime, I mean, yeah. So let's start at the beginning. The road rage. I continually try to warn people that if somebody cuts you off, if somebody wants to pass you, let them. Let them. Because road rage, these people taking out guns, shooting people, or busting up heads, we don't know who is out on the road. So when you're driving, stay very, a good distance away from people. Make sure that you're a polite driver and don't get into it with anybody. Just, let them flip you off, let them, scream, whatever it is that they're doing. But I wouldn't engage.
And new at 11, officials arrest a person they say is involved in a deadly road rage shooting in Riverview. Good evening. I'm Jennifer Lee.
And I'm Keith Kate. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are learning more about this victim and the suspect who is now in custody. News Channel 8's Nicole Rogers spoke exclusively with the victim's family. She's joining us live from the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office tonight. Nicole, the sheriff just gave an update. What have you learned?
Keith, Jen, the victim's family says 61-year-old Stephen Powers was a loving and hardworking man. They are now wondering tonight, why? Why was he shot and killed in a busy intersection in broad daylight?
He was a hard worker, loving, caring man. I just can't understand how this happened.
Thomas Powers woke up this morning without his brother, 61-year-old Stephen Powers. Now his family is trying to wrap their heads around what happened.
I seen the shooting on Facebook 2 hours prior. Didn't know anything about it. Then my mom told me that, it was our Uncle Steve. He passed away. He was shot.
Sheriff Chad Chronister says around 2:15 Sunday afternoon, Powers and his grandson were driving on US 301 when 26-year-old Contavious Golston cut them off. Deputies say Powers then honked at him. Sheriff Chronister says Golston started brake checking Powers and thought Powers hit his car, so he parked. That's when deputies say Powers got out of his van and went to throw a punch, but was pushed down by Golston. And then the unthinkable happened.
Our homicide suspect fires 3 rounds into his back.
Okay. So, you also, sometimes when I listen to these people who have just lost a quote unquote loved one, I have to wonder if, I know that I wouldn't be acting so calmly and like, it's kind of like he could be talking about football. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's all fake and these are crisis actors, and no. There's a real difference in Americans in terms of their emotions that I have noticed, certainly in the last decade. It almost sounds like, I'll give an interview. Yeah, my daughter was killed yesterday, but I'll be there. And I don't understand that. But when you listen to people, it's like, wow, okay. I'd be a little bit more upset. You would know that I was very upset. You can't a whole lot of Americans now, they just, it's kind of like their emotions are gone in terms of, feeling deep emotions, in terms of feeling, grief or sadness or whatever. You don't see it in a whole lot. And that to me is scary, because that to me suggests that an awful lot of people are just so compartmentalized that they are cut off. They have you to be a full human being, it means that you're an integrated soul. And I don't think a lot of Americans are integrated. Now, I get comments from people who say it's not just Americans. I'm an American. I focus on Americans. Okay. So, yeah. And the first woman to die in a suicide pod appeared to have been strangled. What? Suicide riddle. First woman to die in a suicide pod appeared to have been strangled at the last resort. That's where they have these suicide pods. So the prosecutor investigating the case has now raised suspicions of international homicide. So weird. An American citizen, 64 years old, died in the controversial capsule set up in a forest in Switzerland. Wow. Don't know what to say about this world that we're living in. But the Sarco, portable human-sized pod, which replaces the oxygen inside it with nitrogen. Self-operated by a button on the inside. The woman initiated the dying process herself by pressing a button. A forensic expert who checked her body shortly after she died found injuries near her neck that appeared similar to strangulation marks. Wow. So maybe the pod malfunctioned, and the owner of the pod, or the owner of the last resort, thought, okay, I better, the news is not going to be good for the suicide pod, so we better kill her. Oakland woman brutally attacked by group of young people. Young people in cities in particular are so violent these days.
A violent assault in the East Bay tonight. A woman speaking out after she says several people attacked her right near downtown Oakland.
Next thing I know, someone's hitting me upside the back of the head and a bunch of people are kicking me and beating me.
An ordinary walk home turns into a nightmare. Good evening, everyone. I'm Mike Meebeck.
And I'm Claudine Wong. The woman tells us she suffered a concussion and cuts to her head, among other injuries in that attack. This happened early Saturday morning, just before 1:30 a.m. on Franklin Street, just off of Broadway, near downtown Oakland.
This kind of stuff is happening all over the country, and awareness, situational awareness, aware of who's behind you, who's in front of you, what's going on. And here's another road rage.
Good evening, everyone.
No, is this the same one? This is in Florida. Yeah, I think it's the same one. Sorry. And okay, think about this. David DePape, whatever how you pronounce it. The guy that broke into the Pelosi's home and hit, her husband over the head with a hammer gets life in prison. Do you think maybe it's because, well, there was an attack on the Pelosi's or the husband? Do we even hear of anyone getting life in prison? Or what do we hear mostly? Murderers. Well, yeah. No bail. Just go back on the street. We'll give you a call when you're supposed to be in court. Whatever. Just go. This guy gets life in prison. 30 years in prison. Something's off, right? And something was very off with that whole incident. I think Mr. Pelosi was actually having some sex with that guy, and something went wrong. That's what I think. So, listen to this. Okay. New York officially legalizes jaywalking to end racial disparities.
Jaywalking is officially legal here in New York City. The new law allows people to cross a roadway at any point, including outside of a crosswalk. Supporters of the law say people of color were unfairly targeted for jaywalking by police. City data shows police gave nearly 800 pedestrian-related summonses in the first 6 months of the year, with 77% of them going to Black or Hispanic people.
Oh, God. I used to jaywalk all the time. Everybody jaywalks in New York City. But now you don't have to worry when you get out there jaywalking. You won't get a ticket. And I never, ever saw the police giving anyone a ticket for jaywalking. And this has to stop, man. Chaos in the cities. Seattle now. California, LA is big with this. Oakland is big with this. But these street takeovers, the police could easily end this. But they don't. They don't. And I can't imagine the hell of all of the people who live in this vicinity having to deal with this. So, I thought there was a video of it, but cars doing the donuts, 100 to 150 people out here with their cars, essentially drag racing, doing donuts, kind of complete lawlessness. And that is what they want to create. Felt like chaos, and something you see at a frat party. 10 fireworks I saw. Multiple fireworks thrown at the cop cars directly. And cops just sit there and don't do anything. But yeah, it's all over the place. Philadelphia, Seattle, Los Angeles. And I couldn't believe that they were actually taking over city streets in New York. That was a big wow for me. Here. You know you're living in an evil country when this happens.
But she does plan to appeal this ruling. Now, 2 years ago, the now 80-year-old Did, but she does plan to appeal this ruling. Now, 2 years ago, the now 80-year-old Norma Thornton was taken into custody for feeding the homeless at a public park in Bullhead City. Turns out there's an ordinance against that, and even though the charges were dropped, Norma isn't dropping the case.
Good for her.
The U.S. District Court of Arizona dismissing a lawsuit against Bullhead City's food sharing ordinance.
Well, I think it's unfortunate.
Suran Jensen is an attorney with the Institute for Justice representing Norma Thornton. This is body cam video of her arrest in 2022.
You're under arrest. I am? Yes, for violating the city ordinance.
The then 78-year-old was cited for serving food to people experiencing homelessness at a city park. The city has an ordinance that makes it a misdemeanor to hand out meals in public parks without a permit. The city dropped Norma's charges, but she wanted to take things to federal court.
She believes that this ordinance is unconstitutional, which, and we have argued that it is for a variety of reasons.
Norma fought to overturn the city's rule. She believes it's putting a limit on her charitable efforts, so she continues to help people from an alley.
She wants to be able to go back to serving people in the park as she used to do.
The city says the court's decision underscores their ordinance meant to regulate how meals are distributed in the name of public health. However, Sen says they plan to appeal the court's ruling.
This isn't really a question, a case that turns on any factual dispute, really. The question is about what the Constitution demands, what the Constitution requires.
And it's not just in Arizona. We know that this is going on all over the country. How dare you help homeless people, feed them? How dare you? Oh boy. We still have the flash mob looters.
The LAPD says $67,000 in merchandise was taken from a South LA AutoZone after an illegal street takeover in June. This morning, there are new pictures of some of the suspects authorities are looking for. This happened at the AutoZone at South Hoover Street and West Century Boulevard. One suspect has already been taken into custody.
The AutoZone? Okay. Yeah, it's and again, you know, I've said this before, I'll say it again. It is amazing that we have had a real increase of people being shoved onto the tracks in New York City subways. Why aren't they putting up something, putting up a barrier, which you see in a lot of Asian countries? You can't push anybody onto the tracks. In South Korea, in an awful lot of, I believe, China. But we have people being thrown onto the tracks, and yet nothing is being done, you know, as preventative medicine.
Tracks. Welcome to the noon, and Bianca Peters. That woman recovering in the hospital at this hour. Let's get right to Fox 5's Stephanie Bertini on the scene in Bushwick where this all went down. Stephanie, what's the latest on this?
Bianca, it happened here at this subway station over my shoulder just before 6 a.m. this morning. The NYPD responded to a call about someone hurt here at the Jefferson Street station. The victim, a 62-year-old woman, was injured, her foot swollen and cut. Police say a man pushed her onto the tracks after a dispute that started when he asked her for a lighter. Commuters helped the victim get off the tracks.
There are so many simple solutions to an awful lot of our problems, but we just don't seem to have, well, government officials. It's not incompetence. Everything that you're seeing right now is so deliberate. So we just don't have much of the will, the goodwill to do the things that, well, for government, they're supposed to be doing. Hey, it's your job to protect the residents, your constituents for sure, right? No, we're not going to do that. All right. Crazy crime.
New details are emerging tonight about a deadly stabbing in Hillsborough County. It happened yesterday in Fishhawk, and deputies now tell us it involved a postal worker and a lawn care worker. Fox 13's Kylie Jones is joining us live outside the neighborhood with the latest. Kylie, what have you learned?
Well, Haley, yeah, like as you said, in this neighborhood, that argument happened again between a postal worker and lawn care worker yesterday afternoon. A neighbor I talked to inside here says he was working outside when he suddenly saw patrol cars racing down the street. Hillsborough County deputies were called to this quiet Fishhawk neighborhood yesterday afternoon around 1 o'clock. The sheriff's office says there was an argument between a lawn care worker again and postal worker, and investigators say the two got in a fight over a vehicle's parking position on the street, which then led to the stabbing. Deputies were called to the 5600 block of Tanager Lake Road. They found that lawn care worker, 29-year-old Jacob Whitaker, dead with upper body injuries.
Arguments lead to guns being pulled. Arguments lead to knives being pulled. An argument between a postal worker and a lawn care worker, and it was over, I guess my hunch is the postal worker said something about where they parked their truck, the lawn care company or whatever. Okay, so we'll pull out a knife and stab you to death. You get the sense that people aren't quite right? You get that sense? I do. And a whole lot of these, it continues on. 5 killed in tragic domestic violence shooting at Washington State home. Shot dead in a tragic scene of apparent domestic violence at a home in Washington State. The gunman, reported to be a brother, apparently tried to hang himself after opening fire on his relatives. Sorry to say, but yeah, this is going on all over the country. People, families, one member killing the entire family. Meat cleaver.
We are following some breaking news overnight. One man is injured following a random attack with a meat cleaver on a SEPTA bus. It happened around 2:30 this morning on a bus right in front of police headquarters on Spring Garden. Action News reporter Katie Catro is live at the scene this morning with the latest on this very unusual yet violent scene playing out in front of police. Katie.
Bound SEPTA bus. Police say it was a random meat cleaver attack that took place on this SEPTA bus. Police do believe that it was a 45-year-old man who attacked another man with a meat cleaver. That man has wounds to his head and to his arm. Again, police do say that this was random. The victim.
Meat cleavers, machetes, knives, guns. And this was public transportation in Philadelphia. Yeah. It is quite something, actually. Why do we have so many people planting explosives? Florida man accused of planting explosive devices at Hard Rock Casino in Tampa. We just have crazy people, more crazy than ever. Florida looters shut down I-75.
Get over here!
Around noontime on July 11th, 2024, officers from the Miramar Police Department, Florida Highway Patrol, and Broward County Sheriff's Office responded to a crash that occurred near southbound I-75. Officers were informed that the individuals who crashed into a palm tree fled from the vehicle. Intelligence shared that the abandoned vehicle matched the description of recent criminal activity, where a male suspect attempted to rob a Home Depot and drove off in the same alleged car, likely.
Oh, okay. I thought that they were looting on I-75. And okay, yeah, I know. There's so many people who still, nothing has to do with your past. You don't have to work on your past. You don't have to, resolve those fabulous issues that you get from mommy and daddy. No, you just grow up to be an adult that, is not so good in society. And parents have an awful lot to do with that. Dad caught on camera teaching his daughter to steal every piece of candy while trick or treating on Halloween. But don't people understand that most people have those Ring cameras? Don't they get that? Oh.
No cake. Okay. Yeah, no cake. Just open the bowl. Just open the bag. Come on. There you go. Now, hey, hold the bag. See this? Boop. Let's go. Come on, hurry up. No cake. Okay. Yeah, no cake.
Great, huh? What a fabulous father, she says sarcastically. Airlines. Now, I've flown enough, but this was back in the 80s, 70s, late 70s, can't remember. And there were no incidences on a plane. Everybody coexisted on the plane. So what has happened to our population? I understand the shot, yes, but it's not just the shot, because this kind of behavior was going on before 2020.
We're going to turn now to a frightening midair assault. A Florida man is in custody after beating a sleeping passenger during a flight from San Francisco to Washington. Trevor Ault has the details. Good morning, Trevor.
Good morning, George. So this attack appears to be vicious and random. According to authorities, the suspect repeatedly punched a person he did not know mid-flight. And according to another passenger, that victim is deaf and nonverbal and was sleeping when the attack began.
This morning, the FAA investigating a brutal attack aboard a cross-country United Airlines flight.
One individual was assaulted.
It happened 2 hours into the flight from San Francisco to D.C. Monday. According to the affidavit, Everett Nelson left his seat in row 35 to use the restroom. He then walked out, stopped at seat 12F, and without notice began physically attacking a sleeping male passenger.
I was woken up by the most horrific screaming that I have heard.
Sandhya Gupta was in the row behind.
He was just rapid fire, just punching, pummeling very violently this man in the face.
She says another passenger pulled Nelson off the alleged victim.
I was trying to talk to the victim. Then I realized that he was both deaf and nonverbal.
United tells us one passenger was restrained after becoming physically aggressive toward another customer.
What is going on with people? Remotely controlled? something is very wrong. The sleeper cells are being awoken. Huh. Could be. And yeah. Okay. I'm going to do the migrants tomorrow night. The migrant portion of this. Or maybe not. How about to give you a teaser? Illegal immigrant sexually assaults 4 minors in New Orleans suburb. Kenner, Louisiana, suburb of New Orleans, has been dealing with a surge of sex crimes, gang violence, traffic infractions, other crimes, due to an influx of illegal immigrants. 17-year-old arrested for sexually abusing 4 minors, aged 4 to 13. So glad the border's open. Yeah.
Breaking news, JLR investigates. Good morning, everyone, with the breaking news. Come on in. Just one more day until election day, folks. Crunch time, folks. Are you former President of the United States, Donald Trump? Really hear many incidents about migrants from Mexico lately that have been doing these murders on these innocent young females around the country. Now, this is in Cornelia, Georgia. Cornelia, Georgia is like literally like, I don't know if you know the map of Georgia, but it's like northwest of Atlanta. It's getting towards the Blue Ridge Mountains, Tallulah Falls area. They call it Habersham County. Habersham County. Not far from where Laken Riley was murdered, believe it or not. What in the world is going on in Georgia? Do we have a Georgia problem, folks, in northwest Georgia? You know, I was looking on my map and I saw this and I was like, instantly went on my map and I'm like, yo, this is like in the mountains, technically. It's like, it's awesome up there. Helen, Georgia, it's really, really beautiful. 3 incidents in the last year of migrants who crossed into the United States illegally, you know, victimizing innocent females in the northwest Georgia area, or northeast Georgia area, not northwest, northeast Georgia area, like the mountainous area. So where are these people coming from? Like, how are they even getting to Georgia? As some of you might or might not know, with the Laken Riley case, the 2 brothers, right? The brothers, they went to New York City and then left New York City and made their way down to Georgia. Now, in fairness, folks, you know, there's a lot of industries in that area of Georgia that rely on migrants to do the agricultural and farm work around there. Could that have been this guy right here? Angel Rivera. He's 24, so he was 1 year younger than her. She was 25. Common pattern I'm seeing with these criminals that are victimizing these innocent females when they're out and about, they're usually in their mid-20s, which I find very, very interesting. Rest in peace, Rachel Marin, too, on that. So let's get an idea of what's going on. Come on in, folks. We're going to talk about this a little bit. We're going to
Another murder by another illegal migrant. There's a lot of them. There is a lot of them. And I don't have this sense that we're doing much about it. The There was also 2 more children slashed. UK or Scotland, I'm not sure.
Hello again, chaps and chapettes. How are we all doing? It is lovely to see you all again, as always. Right, guys, 2 more kids have fallen prey to the whole diversity is a strength. Now, I don't know about you. I don't know how many more kids have to fall victim to the sharp end of immigration, quite literally. When's it going to be enough? When is enough child sacrifice going to be enough for people to actually turn their heads and pull their heads out of their asses and realise that immigration is anything but a good thing for the country as a whole and for the safety of the people within it? I've no idea how many more it's going to take, hundreds, if not thousands. But it's not going to be happening anytime soon, I can almost guarantee you. Particularly when we have stories such as this that broke earlier this afternoon over on GB News, under the headline of man, just man, just a faceless, generic man. Slashed the throat of a toddler, 2 years old, and the face of a schoolgirl, 8 years old, in horrific Sadiq Khan's London attack. Quelle fucking surprise. A man accused of slashing a toddler's throat and cutting a schoolgirl's face has appeared in court. Kulvinder Ram, local man, allegedly attacked 2 children aged 2 and 8 and a woman who tried to protect them at a house in Dagenham, East London. Ram faces 3 charges of attempted murder following the incident on October 25th. He appeared at Barkingside Magistrates Court where he was assisted by a Punjabi interpreter. Now, this man here, let's just get this out of the road quickly. This man is 48 years old and he cannot grasp rudimentary English. What in the name of all its fuckery was he doing here in the first place?
Voila, there you go. Great question, isn't it? We know exactly why they're bringing in all of these migrants, to cause tremendous violent chaos for all of us to suffer. You know, well, there's much more, as you can see. And this was just maybe 10 days of me just, okay, I just have to now have different bookmark files and go through them. But, this is actually, yeah. So a lot of us have been talking about, well, what happens when these migrants suddenly don't get the benefits anymore? What will happen to them? We know what will happen to them. We know that they will start stealing. They'll do anything, to get food here. New York City mayor immediately ends food stamp cards for illegal immigrants. After talking to Trump, not entirely sure if that's the case, but I will link below. I like Black conservative perspective. Yeah, he's stuck in the matrix. Yeah, he's a Trumper. Okay, fine. But he's got, boy, if those people who actually know how to analyze things and are very articulate, and if they just came out of the matrix, how powerful would they be? I suddenly realized they wouldn't, because once you're out of the matrix, no one really cares about you. And yeah, Black, I've seen this guy grow. He's almost at 1 million. Well, this is Never Lose Truth 5. I'm usually on Never Lose Truth. Wow. I remember when he was under 100,000. He's nearly at 1 million. But listening to how they think, if they did come out of the matrix, it would be certainly inspiring for the few, for the few who are out of the matrix. Anyway, just shut up, Carol. Okay, I will.
In terms of the economy of the city and the possibilities that the president might try to deport some migrants. I know we have sanctuary city issues here, but I'm wondering if you're concerned that if migrants leave because of their fears of what's going to happen, if this could adversely affect the city economy because there'll be a loss of people working and a loss of tax income, and are you worried that it will affect the city's bottom line?
Well, our city's bottom line was affected with 220,000 migrants and asylum seekers were placed in the city without any federal assistance that was substantial. We were impacted, billions of dollars.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about New York City Democrat Mayor Eric Adams, who seems to already be trying to work with the incoming president.
Okay. So yeah, to end the food stamps immediately. All right. Now, why is New York City a sanctuary city? Why do we have sanctuary cities, sanctuary states? Because it is in violation of immigration law. It's an offense to have these sanctuary cities. Why didn't Trump during his term bring that up to those governors and to the mayors? And why didn't he say that this is in violation of immigration law? And if you continue on with these policies, sanctuary policies, well, then we're just going to have to prosecute. Well, he didn't. Okay. So, do you see that our governments, state, local, federal, they don't operate under the rule of law anymore? Have you not noticed that? Yeah, that is definitely going on. That's a big problem. We are not a country ruled by law anymore. Unfortunately, when the law comes at you, well, the law could be you can only walk on your left foot. If you touch the ground with your right foot, that's it. We have the law enforcers on our back continually. But the politicians, they violate U.S. law repeatedly, the Constitution repeatedly, and nothing ever happens. So it's up to the people to demand accountability for these people. You know, it's, that they violate law. Shouldn't that matter? Shouldn't that matter to New Yorkers? You're a sanctuary city, but it's in violation of immigration law. How do you get to do that? Who decided? Who decided to bring in sanctuary policies into New York? See, if you're not involved at all and you just go about your life, how could you possibly complain when you suddenly see all of these illegal migrants on the streets, a whole lot committing crime, when you've allowed your government to do whatever the hell it wants to do? Okay, so on that note, It is 7:25. Can't believe that I actually brought this live to that point of time. Okay, thank you so much for being here. Get out there in your communities. Bring your best self. Make sure that you're aware of your surroundings wherever you are. If you go to a bank, you go to a supermarket, make sure that people aren't following you home when you pull into your driveway, that there's not a car that, oh, wait, I saw that car. It was following me. Now it's on my block right in front of my driveway. Yeah, there's an awful lot going on. And you do have to have that awareness now. Food banks are really hurting. When you're shopping, pick up some extra food for the food banks in your community. The animal shelters are really desperate for help. If you can foster, get in touch with your local animal shelter. Pick up, an extra bag of dog food or cat food or both. Drop it off at your local animal shelter. A lot of supermarkets have bins by the doors as you leave for donations of pet food. We have to start helping people. You're thinking about the holidays, you're thinking about Thanksgiving. Maybe instead of spending the money on that dinner that you'll gorge on, help out those in need. Very important. So, hope to see you tomorrow night. You guys stay safe and good night and good luck. Ciao, guys. I'm just going to come on for a brief second because I just saw Susan Santoro's comment. Just donated sheets, blankets, towels to animal shelter. I love hearing from people what they are doing in their communities. And I just want to say thank you for leaving that comment. When I see things like that, that gives me a wee bit of hope. Thank you, Susan. Very cool.